The smell hit Minho first. It was a mix of unwashed bodies, strange alien food, and something else he couldn't name. The market on Kestos 9 station was crowded and loud. Aliens of every shape and size pushed past him, speaking in languages his translator chip struggled to understand. "I still think this is a waste of time," Yuna said beside him. She was shorter than Minho, but her voice cut through the noise easily. "We should be at the dock making sure they pay us." "They said tomorrow," Minho replied. He wiped sweat from his forehead. The station's environmental controls were set for Velthron comfort, not human. It felt like a hot summer day back on Earth. "We can't do anything until then. Might as well look around." Yuna sighed but followed him deeper into the market. They passed stalls selling glowing fruits, tools made from materials Minho had never seen, and weapons that looked more like art than anything practical. A vendor tried to sell them something that looked like a dancing crystal. Minho politely declined. They had been working on Kestos 9 for 3 weeks now. Their ship, the Morning Star, had needed repairs after a bad jump through hyperspace. The station master had hired them to fix some of his machinery. The pay was good, but the station itself made Minho uncomfortable. Everyone here seemed to be hiding something. A loud voice echoed through the market. Minho turned toward the sound. A crowd was gathering near the far end of the market square. Curious, he started walking that way. "Minho, no," Yuna said. "Whatever it is, it's not our business." But Minho was already moving. Something about the crowd's energy felt wrong. He pushed through the aliens until he could see what was happening. An auction, but not for goods or equipment. In the center of a raised platform stood a large alien with too many arms. Beside him were cages. Inside the cages were living creatures. Minho's stomach turned. He had heard about this kind of thing. Exotic creature trading. It was illegal in most civilized systems, but Kestos 9 existed in a legal gray area. Nobody enforced the rules here. The auctioneer was holding up a cage with a bird inside. Its feathers shifted colors like oil on water. Beautiful, Minho thought, but wrong. The bird belonged in the wild, not in a cage. 500 credits. Someone shouted, 600! The bird sold quickly. Then came more creatures. A cat-like thing with 6 legs. A snake made of what looked like living glass. Each one sold to the highest bidder. The crowd seemed excited, happy even. Minho felt sick. "Let's go," Yuna whispered. She had caught up to him. "This is awful." Minho nodded, but before he could move, the auctioneer spoke again. "And now, our final item." The alien's voice was too cheerful. A rare specimen indeed. A genetic curiosity. 2 smaller aliens dragged a cage onto the platform. This cage was different from the others. It was dirty, covered in grime. Inside, something small and white huddled in the corner. The auctioneer opened the cage door and reached in. He pulled out a small animal by the scruff of its neck. It was a wolf pup. At least it looked like a wolf to Minho. But its fur was completely white, not the healthy white of snow, but a pale, almost sickly color. Its eyes were pink. An albino, Minho realized. The crowd's mood changed instantly. Excited murmurs turned to disgusted whispers. Several aliens in the crowd made gestures that Minho's translator said were signs of bad luck. "An albino Veltran pup," the auctioneer announced. The cheerfulness in his voice sounded forced now. "A true rarity. Who will start the bidding?" Silence. The pup hung limply in the auctioneer's grip. It was trembling. Minho could see its ribs through its matted fur. One of its paws was swollen, probably injured. "Come now," the auctioneer said. "Surely someone wants this unique creature? We'll start at 1,000 credits. More silence. Some aliens were leaving the crowd now, as if the sight of the pup offended them. 500 credits? Nothing. 200? A tall Velthron alien in the crowd spoke up. His voice was cold. "You should destroy it, not sell it. Albinos are cursed. They bring death and misfortune. Putting it in that auction is an insult to all Velthrons here." Other Velthrons in the crowd voiced their agreement. The auctioneer's many arms made a gesture of apology. Of course. But perhaps someone else might want it? Any species, 100 credits? The pup made a small sound. It was so quiet that Minho almost missed it. A whimper. The sound of something in pain and afraid. Minho looked at the pup's eyes. Pink and strange, yes, but there was something in them. Intelligence, fear, hope maybe. It reminded him of the stray dogs he used to find in the alleys near his childhood home. Lost and abandoned, waiting for someone to care. 50 credits, the auctioneer said. He sounded tired now. Surely 50 credits. Otherwise I will simply dispose of 100 credits, Minho heard himself say. The crowd turned to look at him. Yuna grabbed his arm. What are you doing? She hissed. 100 credits, the auctioneer said, suddenly happy again. Do I hear 150? Silence. Going once. Going twice. Sold to the human. Minho pushed through the crowd. His heart was beating fast. What had he just done? He had maybe 200 credits left to his name. That was supposed to last them until they got paid, but he couldn't stop his feet from moving forward. The auctioneer handed him the pup. It was so light, too light. Minho carefully cradled it against his chest. The pup's eyes looked up at him wide and confused. Congratulations, the auctioneer said. His voice carried no warmth. The human buys garbage. How fitting for your kind, several aliens laughed. Minho ignored them. He was focused on the small creature in his arms. Now that he was holding it, he could feel its heartbeat, fast and scared but alive. Yuna appeared beside him. Her face was angry, but her voice was soft when she looked at the pup. Come on, let's get back to the ship before you do something else stupid. They walked quickly through the market. Minho could feel eyes on them. Some looked curious, most looked disgusted. One Velthran spat on the ground as they passed. The pup stayed quiet the whole way, pressed against Minho's chest. It was shaking less now. When Minho looked down, he saw the pup's pink eyes were watching him, studying him. Back at the ship, Yuna sealed the airlock behind them. She leaned against the wall and looked at Minho. Okay, she said. So now we have a wolf pup. A cursed albino wolf pup. What exactly is your plan? Minho carefully set the pup down on the floor. It stumbled a bit, favoring its injured paw, but stayed close to his leg. I don't know, he admitted. I just couldn't leave it there, Yuna sighed. Then, despite her anger, she knelt down next to the pup. She reached out slowly, letting it smell her hand. The pup sniffed carefully, then allowed her to pet its head. It's so thin, she said quietly. And this paw is definitely injured. We'll need to clean it up and feed it. I know. We can't afford a pet, Minho. We can barely afford to feed ourselves. I know. Yuna stood up. She looked at him for a long moment, then shook her head. You're too soft. You always have been. Fine, we'll take care of it. But when we get paid, we're finding it a proper home. Agreed? Agreed, Minho said, though something in his chest told him it wouldn't be that simple. The pup sat down next to Minho's foot. It looked up at him again with those strange pink eyes. Then for the first time its tail moved. Just a little wag. Small and uncertain but real. Minho smiled. Maybe, just maybe, he had done something right. The pup drank water like it had been thirsty for days. Minho watched as the small creature lapped from the bowl he had set down. Its pink tongue moved quickly, desperately. After drinking, the pup looked up at him, water dripping from its chin. Easy there, Minho said softly. You'll make yourself sick. It had been 2 hours since they returned to the ship. Minho had spent most of that time carefully cleaning the pup's matted white fur. The water in the wash basin had turned brown with dirt. Underneath all that grime, the pup's fur was actually quite beautiful. Pure white, soft as snow. The injured paw was worse than Minho had thought. The pad was torn and infected. He cleaned it as gently as he could, but the pup still whimpered. It didn't try to bite him, though. It just looked at him with those strange pink eyes as if it understood he was trying to help. Yuna walked into the small room carrying a food pack. I found some protein bars. They're meat-based. Think it'll eat them? Let's try, Minho said. He broke off a small piece and held it out. The pup sniffed it, then gobbled it down in one bite. Its tail wagged faster now. Minho smiled and gave it another piece. Not too much at once, Yuna warned. Its stomach probably can't handle a lot of food right now. She was right, of course. Minho fed the pup small amounts, waiting between each piece. While they did this, Yuna set up a video call on the ship's communication screen. Who are you calling? Minho asked Daehyun. He's a xenobiologist. If anyone can tell us about this creature, it's him. The screen flickered to life. A man's face appeared. He was young, probably Minho's age, with messy black hair and glasses that kept sliding down his nose. Yuna, it's been forever. How are you? Daehyun's smile faded when he saw her expression. What's wrong? We need your help, Yuna said. Minho did something stupid. Hey, Minho protested. Daehyun laughed. What else is new? What did you do this time? Minho picked up the pup and held it toward the camera. I bought this. Daehyun's eyes went wide. He leaned closer to his screen. Is that what I think it is? An albino Veltron pup, Yuna confirmed. Where did you get it? Daehyun's voice was sharp now, serious. Black market auction on Kestos 9, they were going to kill it. Daehyun was quiet for a moment. He adjusted his glasses. Do you have any idea how dangerous this is? The Veltrons consider albinos cursed. If they find out you have it... I couldn't just leave it there, Minho said. The pup squirmed in his arms. He set it down gently. It immediately went back to his feet and sat down, leaning against his leg. Daehyun watched this through the screen. His expression changed from worried to fascinated. It's bonding with you already. That's unusual. Velthrans don't usually bond with other species. Can you tell us anything about it? Yuna asked. How to take care of it? What it needs? Well, Daehyun said slowly. Physically, Velthrans are similar to Earth wolves. They need protein, water, exercise. But mentally, they're much more intelligent. An adult Veltron has roughly human-level intelligence. They just can't speak our languages. Minho looked down at the pup. It was watching the screen, its head tilted. Could it understand what they were saying? There's something else, Daehyun continued. Albino Velthrans are special. There are old legends about them. Very old. The modern Velthrans claim the legends are just superstition, but... He paused. Some researchers believe albinos have unique abilities. What kind of abilities? Minho asked. Heightened senses. Precognition, maybe. The ability to sense things others can't. Energy fields, dimensional rifts, danger before it happens. Daehyun pushed his glasses up. Again, this is mostly legend. But every legend has some truth in it. The pup suddenly stood up. Its ears went flat against its head. A low growl came from its throat. What's wrong? Yuna asked. Minho looked at the pup. It was staring at the door to their room. The growl grew louder, then the ship's alarm blared. Warning, the computer's voice said. Unauthorized docking sequence initiated. Unknown vessel attempting to board. Yuna ran to the control panel. Her fingers flew over the buttons. It's a Velthron enforcer ship. They're forcing their way in. Minho's blood went cold. How did they find us so fast? The auction, Yuna said. Her voice was tight with worry. Someone must have reported the sale. They probably track all albino sightings. On the screen, Daehyun's face was pale. You need to leave now. If they board your ship, we can't launch, Yuna said. They've got us locked in with a docking clamp. The pup was barking now. Not a scared sound, but an angry one. It positioned itself between Minho and the door. Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Then a voice speaking in the harsh Velthran language. Minho's translator chip converted the words, Open this door. We know you have the abomination. Surrender it immediately. Minho looked at Yuna. She looked back at him. Then she looked at the pup. Override the safety locks, she said quietly. What? Do it. Override the docking safety locks. When I say go, hit the emergency launch. That could kill us, Minho said. We're still attached to the station. Would you rather let them have the pup? Minho thought of the auctioneer's words. Dispose of it. He thought of the Veltran in the crowd who said albinos should be destroyed. He looked at the small white pup, standing bravely between him and danger despite being so young and hurt. No, he said. His hands moved over the controls. He found the override codes and entered them. Red lights flashed. The computer began warning them about the danger. The door started to open. A large Veltron enforcer stood there, reaching for his weapon. Go, Yuna shouted. Minho hit the emergency launch. The Morningstar's engines roared to life. The ship tore away from the docking clamp with a screech of metal. The force threw everyone to the floor. Minho grabbed the pup and held it tight, protecting it with his body. The ship lurched. Alarms screamed. On the screen, Daehyun was yelling something, but Minho couldn't hear over the noise. Yuna pulled herself into the pilot's seat. Her fingers danced over the controls. Hang on! The ship spun. Through the view screen, Minho could see the station falling away. Behind them, the Velthran enforcer ship was giving chase. They're coming after us, Minho called out. I see them, Yuna said through gritted teeth. She pushed the ship into a hard turn. The pup squirmed in Minho's arms. It was looking at the view screen at the asteroid field ahead of them. It barked once, sharp and clear. What is it? Minho asked. The pup barked again, looking at a specific direction. To the left, between two large asteroids. Something made Minho trust that bark. Yuna, go left. Between those two asteroids. That gap is too small. Trust me, go left. Yuna cursed but turned the ship. They dove between the asteroids with meters to spare. Behind them, the enforcer ship tried to follow. It was too big. It had to slow down, change course. The pup barked again. Right this time. Minho called out directions as the pup gave them. Right, left, up, down. Through gaps that seemed impossible. Around asteroids that appeared suddenly. Every time the pup knew where to go, every time they made it through, the Enforcer ship fell further and further behind. Finally, it gave up the chase. They broke free of the asteroid field into open space. Yuna engaged the hyperdrive. The stars stretched into lines and they jumped away. In the sudden silence, Minho looked down at the pup in his arms. It looked back at him with those pink eyes. Its tail wagged slowly. You saved us, Minho whispered. On the screen, Daehyun's voice came through. Are you okay? What just happened? The pup, Yuna said. She sounded amazed. It guided us through the asteroid field. It knew where to go before we could see the dangers. Precognition, Daehyun breathed. The legends are true. Minho hugged the pup gently. It licked his chin. We need a name for you, he said. The pup tilted its head. How about Hanul? It means sky. The pup's tail wagged faster. Minho chose to believe that meant yes. The rain on New Chuncheon smelled like home. Minho stood at the landing pad watching the water fall from gray clouds. Beside him, Hanul sat quietly, occasionally shaking droplets from white fur. The pup had grown in the 2 weeks since they escaped Kestos 9. Not much, but enough that Minho could see the difference. Are you sure about this? Yuna asked. She was checking the ship's systems one last time. Your sister wasn't exactly happy when you called. She's never happy, Minho said with a smile. But she'll help. She always does. A vehicle approached through the rain. It stopped near them and a woman got out. She was shorter than Minho, with her hair cut practically short. Her face showed the same annoyance it had during their video call 3 days ago. Sora, Minho said warmly. Don't Sora me, his sister replied. She looked down at Hanul. Her expression softened slightly. So this is the creature that's got the Velthrons putting bounties on your head. Hanul, Minho corrected. Her name is Hanul. Sora knelt down slowly. Hanul watched her carefully but didn't growl. After a moment, the pup stepped forward and sniffed Sora's extended hand. She's beautiful, Sora admitted. I can see why you couldn't leave her. She stood up. Come on, let's get you somewhere dry before someone recognizes you. Sora's house was small but comfortable. She lived on the edge of the colony, where the buildings met the forest. It reminded Minho of their childhood home on Earth, that same feeling of being between civilization and nature. You can stay in the spare room, Sora said. But Minho, this is serious. The Velthran government is calling you a thief. They say you stole sacred property. I bought her, Minho protested. At a legal auction. Legal on Kestos 9, maybe. Not legal to them. Sora poured tea for them. There's a bounty. 20,000 credits for information leading to the pup's recovery. Yuna whistled. That's a lot of money. People here need money, Sora said quietly. The colony is struggling. I can't promise everyone will keep quiet. Minho looked at Hanul. The pup was exploring the house, sniffing everything with curiosity. Her injured paw had healed well. She barely limped anymore. I know a veterinarian, Sora continued. Jinwoo. He specializes in earth animals, but he might be able to help. He's trustworthy. Thank you, Minho said. That evening, Jinwoo came to the house. He was a tall man with kind eyes and gentle hands. He examined Hanul carefully while Minho held her steady. Remarkable, Jinwoo said. Her bone structure is denser than I expected. Her reflexes are incredibly fast. And these eyes, he shone a light near them. Hanul didn't flinch. She can see wavelengths we can't. Infrared, maybe ultraviolet too. Is she healthy? Minho asked. She's malnourished but recovering well. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Jinwoo packed his equipment. I've never seen a Velthron up close before. They don't usually let other species near them. And an albino. He shook his head. Take good care of her. The weeks passed. Minho found work at the colony's repair shop. Nothing fancy, but it paid enough. Yuna took short cargo runs to nearby systems. Hanul stayed with Minho, following him everywhere. The pup learned fast. Faster than any animal Minho had ever known. She understood commands in multiple languages. She could open doors by herself. Once, Minho found her watching a video screen. Her head tilted as if she was actually understanding the content, but it was her other abilities that truly amazed him. One morning, Hanul woke Minho by pawing at his face. She barked urgently, running to the window and back to him. He followed her outside, confused. 2 minutes later, a tree fell in the exact spot where Minho usually parked the Morning Star. If he hadn't moved it, the ship would have been crushed. Another time, Anil refused to let Sora enter the repair shop where she worked. She blocked the door, growling. Frustrated, Sora went to a different entrance. 5 minutes after she got inside, the ceiling collapsed where she would have been standing. "She's protecting us," Yuna said. "She knows when bad things are going to happen." Minho believed it. He had to. There were too many incidents to be coincidence, but peaceful days couldn't last forever. Minho was working under a broken hover car when Hanul started growling. He rolled out from under the vehicle to see 3 strangers walking into the shop. They looked human, but something about them felt wrong. Their eyes moved too quickly, scanning everything. "Bounty hunters, can I help you?" Minho asked, keeping his voice steady. The leader, a woman with scars on her face, smiled. It wasn't friendly. "We're looking for someone. A man traveling with a white Veltran pup. You seen anyone like that?" "Can't say I have." "That's funny." The woman walked closer. "Because we tracked a ship called the Morning Star to this colony. Ships registered to a Minho and Yuna. You wouldn't happen to be Minho, would you?" Hanul's growl deepened. She positioned herself between Minho and the hunters. The woman looked at Hanul. Her smile grew wider. Well, 20,000 credits sitting right here." "She's not for sale," Minho said. "Everything's for sale." The woman reached for her weapon. Hanul barked once, loud and sharp. The shop's door burst open. Yuna ran in, carrying a large wrench. Behind her, Sora appeared with several other colonists. Jinwoo was there too, carrying his medical bag. "There a problem here?" Yuna asked. The bounty hunters looked at the crowd. They were outnumbered. The leader's smile faded. "No problem," she said slowly. "We were just leaving." But as they turned to go, the leader looked back at Minho. "This isn't over. That bounty's too good. Others will come." After they left, Sora locked the shop door. "You can't stay here anymore. It's not safe." "I know," Minho said quietly. "Where will you go?" Jinwoo asked. Minho didn't have an answer. He sat down on the floor. Hanel came to him and put her head on his lap. He stroked her soft fur. Yuna's communication device beeped. She answered it. Daehyun. The xenobiologist's face appeared on the screen. He looked excited and worried at the same time. "I've found something," Daehyun said. "Something important. I've been researching Veltran history, trying to understand why they hate albinos so much, and I found references to ancient texts. Really ancient. From before the Velthrans joined the galactic community." "What do the texts say?" Minho asked. "They're hidden, forbidden, but I found someone who can help us access them. A xenoarchaeologist named Yunji. She's been studying Velthran ruins for years, sites that most Velthrans won't go near." "Why?" Sora asked. "Because the ruins are on the old Velthran homeworld, the planet they abandoned thousands of years ago. It's considered cursed ground." Yuna crossed her arms. "And you want us to go there?" "I think the answers are there," Daehyun said. "The real reason they fear albinos. The truth behind the persecution. If you can find proof, maybe you can stop running." Minho looked at Hano. The pup was watching the screen. Her pink eyes focused on Daehyun's image. "What do you think?" Minho asked her. "Should we go?" Hanul's tail wagged once. Just once, but deliberately. "All right," Minho said. "Tell this Yunji we're coming." That night they prepared to leave. Sora packed food and supplies for them. Jinwoo gave them medicine for Hanul just in case. The other colonists who had helped them each gave what they could. Money, equipment, words of encouragement. "Why are you all helping us?" Minho asked. "You barely know us." An older woman stepped forward. She had lived on New Chuncheon her whole life. "Because it's the right thing to do. That pup hasn't hurt anyone. She doesn't deserve to be hunted." Others nodded in agreement. Minho felt warmth in his chest. This was humanity, he thought. Not perfect, not always brave, but capable of kindness when it mattered. Before dawn, they left. The morning star rose into the dark sky, leaving New Chuncheon behind. Hanel sat in the co-pilot's chair looking out at the stars. "You know," Yuna said as she set their course. "When you bought her, I thought you were crazy. I thought we'd find her a home and move on. And now?" Minho asked. Yuna glanced at Hanul. The pup's tail wagged at the attention. "Now I think she's family." "And we protect family," Minho smiled. He reached over and scratched behind Hanul's ears. Yeah, we do. The ship jumped to hyperspace, heading toward ancient secrets and dangerous truths. Behind them, the bounty hunters watched them go, already calling for reinforcements. The hunt was far from over. The ancient Velthron homeworld looked dead from space. Its surface was covered in rust-colored dust and broken cities. No lights, no signs of life, just ruins and silence that stretched across continents. Are you sure this is the right place? Yuna asked, piloting the Morningstar into orbit. Coordinates match, Minho confirmed. He was reading the data Daehyun had sent them. Yoonji should be at the northern research site. Hanul stood on her back legs, front paws on the console, staring at the planet below. A low whine came from her throat. She doesn't like it, Minho observed. Can't blame her, Yuna muttered. This place gives me the creeps. They landed near a cluster of prefab buildings. The structures looked temporary, like they could be packed up and moved at any moment. As they exited the ship, a woman emerged from the largest building. Yoonji was younger than Minho expected. She wore dusty work clothes and had short practical hair. Her eyes lit up when she saw them. You must be Minho and Yuna, she said, hurrying over. Then she saw Hanul and stopped. Her mouth fell open. Is that really an albino Veltran? Minho confirmed. Her name is Hanul. Yoonji dropped to her knees slowly, her eyes wide with wonder. I've spent 10 years studying Veltran history. I never thought I'd actually see one. She looked up at Minho. May I? Minho nodded. Yoonji extended her hand carefully. Hanul sniffed it, then allowed herself to be petted. Her tail wagged gently. She's magnificent, Yoonji breathed, and she trusts you completely. That's remarkable. Daehyun said you know why the Velthrans hate albinos, Yuna said. Yoonji's expression grew serious. She stood up. I have theories, but I need proof. Come inside, I'll show you what I've found. The research building was full of equipment and artifacts. Screens showed images of ruins. Tables held fragments of ancient pottery and metal. Yoonji led them to a large display showing a map. This was the capital city of the old Veltran civilization, she explained, before they left this world and joined the galactic community. Something happened here, something that made them abandon their homeworld completely. What? Minho asked. I don't know. The official histories say the planet became uninhabitable due to natural disasters, but that doesn't match the evidence I've found. She pulled up images of buildings. These structures weren't destroyed by earthquakes or storms. Something else did this. Something the Velthrans don't want to talk about, Hanul barked. She was looking at one particular image on the screens. A temple, larger than the others, with strange symbols carved into its walls. That's the Temple of Sight, Yoonji said. It's deep in the old city in a section I haven't been able to access yet. The entrance is sealed with technology I can't break through. She looked at Hanul. She seems interested in it. Can you take us there? Minho asked. It's dangerous. The ruins are unstable and… Yoonji hesitated. The Velthrans have forbidden anyone from entering that temple specifically. If they find out, they're already hunting us, Yuna pointed out. Might as well make it worth it. Yoonji nodded slowly. All right. We'll go tomorrow at first light. Get some rest. That night, Minho couldn't sleep. He sat outside watching the stars. Hanul lay beside him, her white fur almost glowing in the moonlight. What are we going to find in that temple? He asked her quietly. Hanul looked at him with those pink eyes. Sometimes Minho could swear she understood every word. The next morning, they loaded into Yoonji's ground vehicle. The ride to the old city took 2 hours across empty wasteland. When the ruins finally appeared on the horizon, Minho felt his breath catch. The city was massive. Buildings reached into the sky even in their broken state. Streets wide enough for crowds stretched into the distance. This had been a thriving civilization once. Now it was a tomb. The temple is at the city center, Yoonji said, navigating through collapsed structures. Hanul was restless the whole journey. She paced in the vehicle, whining occasionally. As they got closer to the temple, she became more agitated. The Temple of Sight was enormous. Its walls were made of black stone that seemed to absorb light. The entrance was sealed by a door covered in symbols that glowed faintly blue. This is as far as I've gotten, Yoonji said. I've tried everything to open it. Nothing works. Hanul jumped out of the vehicle before Minho could stop her. She ran straight to the door and placed her paw against it. The symbols flared bright. The door began to open with a deep grinding sound. How? Yoonji whispered. Albino, Minho said. She's special. They entered the temple carefully. Inside, the air felt different. Heavier somehow. Emergency lights on their suits provided the only illumination. Hanul led the way confidently as if she knew where she was going. She took them deeper into the temple, through corridors lined with more glowing symbols. Finally, they reached a central chamber. It was circular with a raised platform in the middle, and on that platform stood something that made them all freeze. It looked like a machine, but also like a living thing. Crystalline structures pulsed with soft light. When they approached, it activated. A voice filled the chamber. It spoke in the ancient Veltran language, but Minho's translator chip struggled with the dialect. "Welcome, Guardians. Welcome home." A holographic display appeared above the platform. It showed images, a history. Hyunji gasped as she recorded everything. The images showed the ancient Veltrans living peacefully. Then came something else, beings made of shadow and light. Creatures that existed between dimensions. They fed on the consciousness of living things. The Veltrans fought them but couldn't win. Their weapons couldn't touch beings that didn't fully exist in their reality. Then the images showed Albino Veltrans stepping forward. They could see the creatures. More than that, they could sense them, predict their movements, resist their influence. The albinos became guardians, protecting their people, but there was a cost. The creatures grew angry. They made an offer. They would leave the Veltrans alone, but only if the Veltrans gave up their guardians, destroyed them all. The images showed a terrible choice. Leaders arguing, people afraid, and finally a decision. The Veltrans agreed. They hunted down the albinos, killed most of them. The few survivors were cast out, their history erased. With the guardians gone, the creatures left. The Veltrans were safe, but they knew what they had done. The guilt drove them to abandon their homeworld, to start fresh somewhere else. They created new histories, new lies. They made the albinos into monsters in their stories, cursed things to be feared. They betrayed their own people, Yuna said quietly. The voice spoke again. The last guardian, bloodline. Preserved here, in secret, waiting for the time when guardians would be needed again. More images appeared. They showed the creatures returning, growing bolder, appearing more frequently in normal space. The treaty was breaking down. Warning, warning. The shadow feeders, return, guardians, needed, or all, will fall. The hologram faded. The chamber fell silent. Yunji was crying. They lied. For thousands of years they lied. And now the danger is coming back, but they destroyed the only ones who could fight it. Hanul walked to the center of the platform. She sat down looking at each of them in turn. Not all of them, Minho said. Hanul is here. One pup, Yuna said. Against dimensional monsters. That's not enough. The voice said. Bloodline preserved, Yunji pointed out. Maybe there are others. Maybe the Veltrans have been keeping some alive in secret, even while publicly calling for their destruction. A new sound echoed through the temple. Footsteps, many of them. We've got company, Yuna said, drawing her weapon. They ran back through the corridors. When they reached the entrance, they saw Velthran soldiers surrounding the temple. Ships hovered overhead. In front of the soldiers stood a commander in decorated armor. He spoke through a loudspeaker. You have violated sacred ground. Surrender the abomination and yourselves immediately. What do we do? Yunji asked. Minho looked at Hanul. The pup met his eyes. She wasn't scared. She looked determined. We tell the truth, Minho said. The whole galaxy needs to know what really happened here. He activated his comm device and set it to broadcast on open frequencies. Then he connected it to Yunji's recordings. My name is Minho, he said loudly. I'm a human mechanic, and I'm going to show you all something the Velthrons don't want you to see. He played the recordings from the temple. The ancient history, the truth about the albinos, the betrayal, the returning threat. The Veltron commander shouted for them to stop, but it was too late. The broadcast was going out across multiple systems. Within minutes, it would be on every news network in the galaxy. You've signed your death warrant, the commander snarled. But before anyone could move, the sky began to tear. Reality itself seemed to rip open. Dark shapes poured through the tears. Shadow creatures, just like in the ancient recordings. They were huge, formless, hungry. The Veltran soldiers screamed. Their weapons fired, but the shots passed through the creatures harmlessly. Hanul barked once and ran forward. She positioned herself between the humans and the creatures. Her white fur began to glow with a soft light. The creatures recoiled from her. She can fight them, Yunji breathed. But she's too small. Too young, Minho didn't think. He ran to stand beside Hanul. If she was going to fight, she wouldn't fight alone. The creatures advanced. Hanul growled, and the light from her fur grew brighter. The shadow creatures moved like smoke made solid. They had no true form. Just darkness shaped into something that could hunt. The Veltron soldiers fired their weapons desperately, but every shot passed through the creatures without effect. Hanul stood her ground. The glow from her fur pushed back against the darkness. Where her light touched, the creatures recoiled. But there were too many of them, and she was still so small. Minho stood beside her, his heart pounding. He had no weapon that could hurt these things.
But he wouldn't leave her to fight alone. Minho, get back!
Yuna shouted. She and Yunji had taken cover behind fallen pillars. One of the creatures lunged at a Veltron soldier. The alien's scream was cut short as the thing seemed to drink something from him. The soldier collapsed, his eyes empty. Still alive, but vacant. The creature had fed on his consciousness, his very sense of self. We have to help them, Yunji cried. Hanul barked, sharp and commanding. More creatures were coming through the tiers in reality. The sky was full of them now. Then something changed. Hanul's bark echoed strangely, as if the sound had layers to it. The creatures stopped advancing. They seemed confused. A new sound joined Hanul's voice. Another bark, deeper and older. Then another, and another. From the ruins around them, white shapes emerged. More albino Veltrons. Adults, their fur gleaming with the same protective light. They had been hiding in the ancient city, survivors who had never left their homeworld. The Guardians, Yunji whispered. They're still here. The adult albinos formed a circle around the humans and Veltron soldiers. Their combined light created a barrier that the shadow creatures couldn't cross. One by one, the creatures tried to break through and were pushed back. But the tiers in reality kept opening. More creatures poured through. The Guardians were strong, but they were few. Hanul looked up at Minho, her pink eyes were pleading. She barked once, then pawed at his communication device. What? Minho asked. What do you need? Hanul pawed at the device again, more urgently. The broadcast, Yunji said suddenly. She wants you to broadcast what's happening. Show everyone what the creatures are. Show them what the Guardians are doing. Minho's hands shook as he activated his comm device. He set it to record and aimed it at the battle. My name is Minho, he said into the device. I'm on the ancient Veltron homeworld. What you're seeing is real. These creatures are called shadow feeders. They exist between dimensions. They feed on consciousness, and the only ones who can fight them are the albino Veltrons, the ones the Veltron government has been trying to destroy. He showed the Guardians holding back the creatures. He showed the empty-eyed soldiers who had been fed upon. He showed Hanul, small but brave, glowing with protective light. The Veltrons made a deal with these creatures thousands of years ago. Minho continued. They agreed to kill their own Guardians in exchange for being left alone. But the deal is breaking down. The creatures are coming back. And unless the Guardians are allowed to exist, to grow in numbers, everyone in the galaxy is at risk. The broadcast went out across all frequencies, on ships, on stations, on colony worlds. Billions watched, and on those worlds something unexpected happened. More albino Veltrons began to appear. They had been hidden away, kept secret by sympathizers who couldn't bring themselves to kill the pups despite what their culture demanded. On dozens of worlds, these hidden Guardians emerged and began traveling toward the nearest ships. Taiho, the human ambassador to the Galactic Council, was in an emergency session when the broadcast reached him. He watched in horror as the creatures attacked. He watched Hanul and the other Guardians fight. We need to send aid, he declared. Immediately. This is a Veltron matter, one of the alien council members protested. This is everyone's matter, Taiho shot back. Those creatures don't care what species you are. If they break through completely, they'll feed on all of us. On the Veltron homeworld, the battle was turning. There were too many creatures now. Even with the adult Guardians, the barrier was weakening. One of the creatures broke through. It lunged at Minho. He tried to run, but his feet felt frozen. Hanul leaped. She was so small compared to the creature, barely bigger than when Minho had first found her, but she jumped anyway, placing herself between the shadow and the human who had saved her. The creature's formless mass enveloped her. For a terrible moment, Minho couldn't see her white fur. He couldn't hear her. Then light exploded outward, pure and bright. Hanul emerged from the shadow, her glow blinding. The creature screamed, a sound that hurt to hear, and dissolved into nothing. The other guardians saw what she had done. They changed their strategy. Instead of just defending, they began to attack. Their light could destroy the creatures if concentrated enough. More ships arrived in orbit. Not just Velthron, but human vessels too. Ships from New Chuncheon, cargo haulers that Yuna had flown with. Even some civilian transports. They didn't have weapons that could hurt the shadow feeders, but they brought something else. More albino Velthrons. Dozens of them. Hidden pups and adults from across the galaxy, emerging from secrecy, ready to fight. They descended to the surface in shuttles. As each guardian joined the battle, the barrier grew stronger. The creatures were being pushed back. The Velthron commander who had come to arrest Minho stood frozen, watching. His entire worldview was crumbling. Everything he had been taught was a lie. One of his soldiers, the one who had been drained by a creature, slowly regained awareness. His eyes focused again. What happened? The albino saved you, another soldier said, pointing at one of the guardians. It drove the creature away before it could take everything. The commander looked at Hanul, still glowing bright near Minho's feet. She was panting hard, exhausted but unbroken. They're not abominations, the commander said quietly. We're the monsters. We've been the monsters all along. The battle raged for hours. More tears kept opening, but the guardians were learning to close them. Working together, their combined light could seal the rifts in reality. Finally, as the local sun began to set, the last tear closed. The last creature was destroyed. Silence fell over the ruins. The guardians, exhausted, collapsed where they stood. Hanel stumbled to Minho and fell against his legs. He picked her up gently, cradling her. You did it, he whispered. You saved everyone. Ships continued to arrive. News vessels now, broadcasting the aftermath across the galaxy. The Galactic Council was already in emergency session. A shuttle landed nearby. Taiho emerged with several council representatives. They approached the scene cautiously. I am Ambassador Taiho of Earth, he said formally. The council demands an explanation for what occurred here. The Veltron commander stepped forward. His armor was scorched, his pride was gone. The explanation is simple. My people made a terrible mistake long ago. We nearly destroyed the only ones who could protect us all. And this human, he gestured to Minho. This simple mechanic had the wisdom we lacked. He saw value where we saw only shame. One of the council representatives, a tall insectoid alien, looked at the albino Veltrons resting among the ruins. These guardians, they are the only defense against the shadow feeders? As far as we know, Yunji said. She had been recording everything, documenting it all for history. The ancient records suggest no other species has the natural ability to perceive and fight them. Then the Velthron persecution must end, Taiho declared. Not just end. The guardians must be protected, honored. Their numbers must be allowed to grow. The Veltron commander nodded slowly. I will recommend this to my government. After today, I do not think there will be much resistance. Everyone saw what happened. Everyone knows the truth now. Weeks passed. The Galactic Council issued a decree. Albino Velthrons were declared protected guardians. Harming them was made a crime punishable by the Council itself. The Velthron government, facing pressure from their own people who had seen the broadcast, publicly apologized for centuries of persecution. More importantly, sympathizers across the galaxy brought forward the albinos they had hidden. Breeding programs were established to increase their numbers. The guardians would be trained, prepared for when the shadow feeders tried to return again. Minho was offered rewards, medals, money, titles. He turned them all down. I just want one thing, he told Taiho during an official ceremony. I want to keep Hanul. She's my family, Taiho smiled. I think that can be arranged. The ceremony took place on a peaceful human colony world. Not New Chuncheon, but somewhere similar. Green fields, blue sky, the smell of growing things. Hanul had grown. She was nearly full-size now, as large as an earth wolf. Her white fur was healthy and thick. She wore a ceremonial collar marking her as a guardian, but Minho knew she would always be more than that to him. Yuna stood beside them, watching children play in the distance. Some human kids were playing with young albino Velthron pups under careful supervision. You know what's funny? Yuna said. When you bought her, I thought you were being stupid. Wasting money we didn't have. And now? Minho asked. Now I think you might be the smartest person I know, she grinned. Don't let it go to your head. Hanel's tail wagged. She looked up at Minho with those pink eyes that had once been called cursed. Now they were seen as blessed. Dahyun approached them, his tablet full of research notes.